I'm explaining a film from 2016 titled Hush. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the content. With the help of her laptop, Maddie is cooking a full-course lamb supper inside a home in the midst of the woods. Her deafness becomes immediately apparent. A notice appears on her laptop while she samples what she has cooked. Sarah from next door is inquiring as to whether she may drop by. Maddie sees her pal approaching the home. Sarah informs Maddie that she has just completed reading her book in sign language. She goes on to inquire as to how Maddie comes up with her writing. Maddie informs her that it's known as writer's brain. She becomes insane from it, as her mother would say. In her mind, every potential scenario is like a multi-ending movie. A loud and sudden sound breaks their talk. They run back into the house to find smoke coming out from the oven and the fire alarm giving off a very intense warning. Maddie apologizes for her hell of a fire alarm and tells Sarah that she needs it because she has to feel the vibrations. In order to wake up, she gives Sarah her own copy of the book before Sarah bids her goodbye. Later on in the evening, Maddie is by herself in her living room, working on the last draft of her novel. She attempts to divert her attention from her frustration by tidying up the mess in the kitchen. Abruptly, Maddie's friend Sarah approaches her kitchen door. She is trying to unlock the locked door while yelling and calling out for assistance. Maddie can't see her pal since she's cleaning the kitchen. Sarah stops screaming, her piercings piercing her back as an arrow lunges in. Sarah is pursued by a man intruder who is wearing a white mask and a ski helmet, and he stabs her in the kitchen door. He keeps stabbing her till her limp corpse falls to the ground. The intruder tries to catch Maddie's attention by knocking on her door, but Maddie doesn't respond. He immediately deduces that she is most probably deaf as she continues working. The intruder sneaks into the house with one hand bearing an arrow. He is about to stab her when he is interrupted by Maddie's sister Alex video calling her. He grabs Maddie's phone and hides. Alex asks her how Maddie's book is going, but Maddie says she's stuck and needs a distraction. Maddie resists her attempts to get her to move back to the city and live with her. Alex interrupts them to inquire if anyone is behind her because she thought she saw something move. She is reassured by Maddie that it's most likely the cat. Picking up her cat's bowl, Maddie starts to rattle it. She shakes the dish throughout the house, but her cat is nowhere to be seen. She ignores this, picking up the bowl from the open door, and returns to her work. On her laptop, a notification appears, displaying a message that Maddie sent using her own phone. She opens the message, puzzled, to find a collection of photos of herself taken during the chat with her sister. Petrified, Maddie walks to the open door to see the masked intruder holding her phone. She quickly closes and locks the door before he can get in. The intruder, armed with a crossbow, goes to every door of the house trying to get in, but Maddie locks all of them. The power goes out and from the window she could see him slashing her tires. There's no chance of escape. Now, in a frantic attempt to write on the glass door, Maddie takes a lipstick out of her bag. She promises not to reveal to anybody that she hasn't seen his face and that her partner will be returning home shortly. She is counting on the man to call her bluff. The trespasser removes his mask to show the tattoos on his neck and face. Maddie nods when he asks whether she can read his lips. He must murder her now that she has seen his face. Maddie dashes back to get a knife in her kitchen. She heads to her bedroom, curls into a corner, and locks the door and windows. She begins to shake and weep as someone taps on one of her windows. Terrified, she looks up to see the intruder carrying Sarah's dead body and banging her lifeless arm against the windowpane. Maddie drops her knife in shock and backs away. Crying at the sight of her dead friend, Maddie realizes that Sarah must still have her own phone with her. She tries to distract the intruder by activating her car alarm. Once he's occupied, a gasping Maddie makes a run for it, opens the window and reaches for the phone inside her friend's back pocket. The invader sees her in the act right away. She closes the window on his fingers as he attempts to grab her. She smashes his arms out with a hammer, forcing him to retreat and shut the window once again while he cries in agony and attempts to unlock it again. Without any delay, Maddie ducks behind the intruder's shadow as he makes his way back around the house. Silently, she slips out the kitchen door and ducks beneath the patio's crawl area. She is stopped in her tracks when the intruder fires the crossbow just as she is ready to go. She sprints back to the home, almost escaping with her life, refusing to be a deer in headlights. Desperate for a way out, Maddie goes upstairs to her loft. She cracks open a window, squeezes herself out and lands on the roof. With shaking hands, Maddie then tosses a flashlight into the woods behind her house. This catches the intruder's attention and he follows the light. She starts walking across the roof to the front of the house, her legs shaking with fear as she's climbing down from the roof. She is taken aback as the intruder shoots an arrow at her leg. He attempts another shot, just missing her head. Maddie grinds her teeth through the pain and drags herself up. The burglar starts to ascend the roof, but Maddie knocks him down just in time to seize his crossbow and launch him back to the earth. She limps painfully and brings the crossbow back inside the house barely in time to shut the upstairs window. John, Sarah's boyfriend, shows up at the front door just as she is trying to load the crossbow. The intruder stops him in his tracks as he searches for his partner. He asks John for identification while posing as a police officer and claims to have responded to a 911 call made by a resident. He then tells John that an intruder knocked him over and took his gun and radio, and now he needs to borrow John's phone to call for backup. John grows suspicious and asks him how can Maddie have made the call when she's deaf and mute. John tells the intruder that there's probably a spare key hidden under one of the plants by the patio. As the intruder goes to look for the key, John sneaks up behind him with a rock in hand ready to strike. Maddie starts pounding on the glass after spotting John via the kitchen door. This diverts John's attention, creating a space where the intruder may stab John in the neck while he is gasping for oxygen. Even with the blood spurting out of his neck, John refuses to give up easily. John puts the invader in a chokehold as they fall to the ground. Maddie observes the conflict as she considers her options for escape. With her damaged leg, she is unable to outrun him in this scenario. If she pulls off a crossbow shot, it needs to be flawless. He will grab her before she can regain control of the power if she tries to do so. If she hides, he only needs a rock to crash open one of the windows. In case the intruder doesn't find her, she's going to bleed to death anyway. She can't go back to the crawl space again. Her heart cries out in pain and she knows she's not going to last long and she's running out of time. The intruder breaks free from John's chokehold and pushes him aside. John bleeds out and dies, unable to help Maddie. Maddie takes this opportunity and shoots an arrow into the intruder's shoulder. He screams in agony, his fury driving him to want to murder her. He chases Maddie back inside the home, seizing her hand as she closes the kitchen door. As he tramples on her hand, shattering the bones in her fingers, Maddie is powerless to cry out in agony. As the intruder tries to smash through the glass door, she uses what energy she has left to collect her hand and get back inside the house. While waiting for him to storm in, Maddie uses her free hand to jot down the intruder's description on her laptop and locks herself in the restroom. The trespasser approaches her from behind, slipping through the damaged glass. Just as he's about to strike her, Maddie feels his breath on her neck and turns around to stab him on the knee. He screams in pain and lunges at her with his broken knee. Maddie desperately hops back to the kitchen with her broken hand and bleeding leg and collapses beside one of the cabinets. As the intruder walks towards her, she aims a bug spray into his face and reactivates her fire alarm, buying her a bit of time. When the intruder eventually catches up with her, they get into a battle. He chokes her and hits her in the face, but Maddie fights back, pressing his finger into his wound. She feels her life flashing before her eyes and her heartbeat slowing down as he smashes her to the ground and chokes her once again. With everything she has, she goes for the wine opener and stabs him in the neck one final time with a powerful swing. He lets go of her neck, choking on his own blood as he falls to the ground beside her. With a gulp for breath, Maddie fumbles for his pocket phone and frantically rings 911. This is her chance to escape. She gives one last look at the dead intruder and slowly makes her way to the patio where she sits down next to her cat. As Maddie pets the furry little creature, flashing lights from the police are seen in a distance. She closes her eyes and sees she survived and she won. Subscribe to watch more videos like this and leave a like to help out the channel. Thank you for watching.